6 former surgeons general who have served under presidents since former George W. Bush are warning about the changes in a letter published in the Washington Post and calling for Kennedy's resignation. Here's ABC's Rachel Scott.
Jerome Adams, who again was appointed by President Trump in his first term, posting this on social media. Disinformation and the destruction of public health and America's trust in doctors will kill more people than cigarettes. HHS did not respond to our request for comment, but in a statement to Axios, they did say they remain committed to restoring trust, reforming broken healthcare systems, and ensuring that every American has a real choice in their health care.
An HHS spokesperson has since issued another statement saying in part the doctors are the same officials, quote, who presided over the decline in America's public health. Authorities in Louisiana, along with the U.S. Marshals Service and the FBI, announced the arrest of the final escapee from the Orleans Parish jail. And that was back in May. Louisiana State Police say 28-year-old Derek Groves was taken into custody in Atlanta, Georgia, after a brief standoff. Authorities say multiple tips led them to Groves, who was hiding out in a crawl space. Officers pumping a type of gas into the house to force him out. Here's Orleans Parish DA Jason Rogers Williams.
He obviously had some help, and there will be a thorough investigation to any and everybody that helped him along the way.
Groves among the 10 inmates who escaped from that jail 5 months ago. Michelle Franzen, ABC News.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues?
Who are you?
Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
News Talk 610 AM and 102.1 FM. KVNU.
It's now 4:05 as we're enjoying another beautiful afternoon in northern Utah. I'm Will Feelright with your KVNU local headlines as we head into KVNU's For the People show. Well, the Smithfield Historical Society will be hosting retired religious educator Kenny Mays coming up on Saturday, October 11th, with a presentation on Smithfield's early settlers from Britain. Now, Mays will be speaking at the Smithfield Senior Citizen Center at 7 o'clock on Saturday. His remarks will be focusing on the LDS British missions from 1830 to 1840. Now, Mays, who is a former seminary and institute teacher, has traveled extensively to historical sites and has produced thousands of historical images. Now, an exhibit of his photographic collection from Britain will be available an hour before the presentation. Now, 4 prominent missionaries from that era were Wilford Woodruff, Heber C. Kimball, Willard Richards, and also Brigham Young. Now, the event is open to the public. Everyone's invited Saturday night, 7 o'clock, at the Smithfield Senior Citizen Center. And a small wildfire broke out yesterday in a remote area of Zion National Park, and it is posing a challenge now for firefighters who are struggling to get access to the area. Now, the Blue Creek Fire, as it's being called, was ignited in the right fork of North Creek Trail in Washington County. Now, state officials estimated that the blaze is under an acre in size, but what makes it difficult is that firefighters have had to hike about 5 miles to reach the flames. Now, the state's Diamond Fork aerial firefighting team was dispatched to the area to try to assist with suppression efforts. Now, no structures have been threatened by the fire, and the cause of the blaze is currently unknown and under investigation. And some airports in rural Utah could face some service disruptions as the government shutdown continues to threaten to halt funding for what's called the Essential Air Service Program. Now, the EAS program subsidizes airlines to maintain flights to smaller airports that would otherwise be unprofitable, including areas of Moab, Vernal, and Cedar City. Now, Canyonlands Airport Director Steve Gleason assured officials that flights would continue in Moab regardless of the federal lapse, calling them too vital to the area's economy to be grounded. However, Cedar City's regional airport director warned that if the subsidy pauses, airlines like SkyWest may be forced to scale back or cancel some of their connecting flights. And Utah's ban on transgender athletes competing in high school sports that do not align with their gender identity is now in full effect after plaintiffs challenging the law agreed to dismiss their lawsuit. Now, the ban, passed back in 2022, had been on hold for years while the Utah High School Activities Association used a commission to determine eligibility on a case-by-case basis. Now, that commission will now be dissolved, and eligibility will be based on sex assigned at birth. Now, Utah House Speaker Mike Schultz celebrated the dismissal, calling the resolution a major win for fairness, safety, and the preservation of women's sports in Utah. Now, the families of 2 anonymous athletes and the UHSAA had filed a stipulation agreement on Monday to dismiss the case with prejudice, meaning that it cannot be refiled. Now, the move comes as the U.S. Supreme Court has agreed to hear 2 similar transgender athlete cases from Idaho and West Virginia. Now, it's a decision expected to determine the legality of such bans nationwide next summer. Well, we've been enjoying another beautiful sunny afternoon as temperatures have been at 71 for our high today. Tonight, we're going to drop back into the high 30s, and then tomorrow, even warmer, 77 for Thursday. But we'll start to see some clouds coming in Thursday night. That's going to bring a chance of some isolated showers that will continue into Friday, and then more rain likely for Sunday, tapering off. Or for Saturday, that is. The storm should taper off by Sunday. Well, Dr. Keith Nilsson brings you our weather here at the top of the hour. Don't live with knee pain another day. There's no need to leave Logan for knee surgery when Dr. Keith Nilsson has over 27 years of experience right here in Cache Valley. Visit drkeithnilssonortho.com. That's drkeithnilssonortho.com. And I'm Will Feelright with your KVNU News headlines.
For over a decade, Roof Rescue has been safeguarding your homes with the finest roofing solutions. We understand the value of your time. That's why we're committed to replacing most roofs in just one day. With award-winning service, 100% guaranteed workmanship, and the best warranties in the industry, your watertight peace of mind is guaranteed. Call us today at 435-999-4268 or visit roofrescueusa.com and ask for the $250 off any roof replacement. Financing available? That's roofrescueusa.com.
Breaking news and stimulating talk. News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
Do you suffer from consistent symptoms like these, and no matter how many doctors you see, things don't improve?
I definitely had fatigue and unexplained weight gain, brain fog, my joints hurt, and I just didn't feel like me. The last couple of years, I just had doctors telling me, oh, you're over 40, we can put you on prescriptions, and I just knew that wasn't what I wanted.
In a conventional model, it's typically one size fits all. Everyone's herded around like sheep and treated the exact same way. When they come to Red River, it's important to customize the treatment plan for that specific patient.
Talking with Dr. Swindlehurst, I just immediately felt like he was listening. He had a plan for me individually as a human being. If you're feeling the way that I was feeling, there's no reason that you can't go in for a consultation and do your blood work and see what they say.
If you're battling autoimmune symptoms, we have personalized options just for you.
Call Red River Health and Wellness at 855-55-RIVER.
Call Red River today.
As winter approaches, don't ignore the threat heavy snow can cause to your trees. Branches could snap, causing costly damage to your home and yard. Be ready with the help of Hull Tree Care. Right now, they're offering 10% off all tree trimming services to prepare your trees for the winter ahead. The best part is, not only will they get your trees ready for winter, but they'll come back healthier in the spring and look amazing. So why not save some money now and sleep easy all winter? Call Hull Tree Care at 760-6587. That's 760-6587.
KVNU's For the People with Jason Williams and Bill Walter.
And it is Utah known as the fraud capital of the world. Not because we have more people committing fraud, but because we have so many people falling for it.
Going beneath the headlines and connecting you to the newsmakers.
The radio is a great way to get the word out to a lot of people in an emergency. So we thank you for your help and being a partner with us.
For the People on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM, 102.1 FM. Online at 610kvnu.com and on the KVNU mobile app.
Welcome to KVNU's For the People. I'm Jason Williams. It is a beautiful day here in Cache Valley. Much warmer than yesterday. We were just under 60 degrees at 4:11 in the afternoon yesterday. Today, well, 4:12, We're at 71, almost 72. So going to get a little warmer as well, and back to some more moderate nighttime temperatures, and then cools down again, then gets warm again, then cools down again. Not a lot of precipitation in the long-term forecast. So as far as snow goes, not yet. We'll see. A lot of years we've had it by now. On the show today, Frank Schofield, Superintendent of Logan School District, and social studies teachers joining us in hour 2 of today's show to talk about something Utah lawmakers talk about all the time, which is civic education at the high school level. This is something that lawmakers, through a recently passed bill, have extended into at least an optional full-year program in which classes can be taught throughout a full year. They've increased the amount of high school graduating credit that students get for participating in a civics ed class. And I think it's a good thing. Although I think whenever you're talking about the Utah legislature and civics education, we should all remember that we have semi-frequent reminders from lawmakers themselves often that they might benefit from a civics education class now and then. Just a little refresher occasionally on how federal and state constitutions work. No matter how much you as a lawmaker really, really, really want to do something, there are still rules. This is a good thing. I think it's good for kids. A lot of people oppose this push or this, renewed interest in civic education because oftentimes those pushing for it, it's coming from a cynical place, and I get that. If you're a political junkie, oftentimes very partisan or ideological reasons a person might have for saying, the kids these days, they need more civic education. The assumption there that kids who disagree with them politically are just not civically educated enough, I don't think that's the case. They just disagree with you. Younger generations often do disagree with older generations, and we probably shouldn't panic about it. That said, I think expanding civic education in high schools is great. If for no other reason than maybe, just maybe, it will encourage more people to participate in the process, both through voting, of course, but also getting engaged in, opportunities you have. We're pretty lucky here in Utah as far as the accessibility of our legislature. I come down on them hard for their the current leadership, at least in the House and the Senate here in Utah's lack of interest. I wouldn't say outright hostility towards transparency and open government, but definitely not on their radar. And I say that as someone who, with previous leadership from Wayne Niederhauser in the Senate to going all the way back to Becky Lockhart and even, Greg Hughes, all of his flaws aside, being kind of champions of transparency and moving Utah forward, the current leadership just could care less. And when I think of civic education in a high school class, I think, of course, of voting, of getting engaged and understanding how things work. But, and I'm not talking about the understanding of how things work to where you're politically astute enough to know exactly the rules and thresholds for when the filibuster does or does not apply in the United States Senate. I know that because I follow politics like sports, and I realize that for most people, it's not an interesting thing. I get it. But civically engaged enough to where you understand, how majorities work in the House and the Senate, to where you understand where powers that are delegated in the Constitution to the three co-equal branches of government, the judiciary, the legislative, and the executive branches, a model that is then repeated at the state level and oftentimes, at least here in Cache County, repeated kind of at the county government level. And many cities with a strong mayor here in Utah, like Salt Lake City, they follow that same model. So civic education can help people understand enough how it works, and that understanding, like all things, when you learn more about something, sometimes it becomes a little more interesting to you, or at least less confusing and scary, and then that will usually prod a person to get more involved, whether that's just attending a local school board meeting to voice an opinion or to learn more about an issue they're debating as board members, or whether that's just the basics of casting a ballot, even in the municipal races. So I'm a big fan. I think it's important. And in hour 2, we're actually going to talk about what this is. What because civic education is a pretty broad term, right? So what exactly do social studies teachers at the high school level, for example, actually teach, and how do they go about teaching it? And we'll talk about that. I always hesitate to start the show with a tragic story, one that's obviously in some cases if something's getting a lot of national attention, you've heard plenty about it by the time I take to the airwaves here at 4. I do want to highlight this one though, because it's heartbreaking, but it also I think speaks to along the lines of kids, high school age kids. Some things I think we need to grapple with as a society, and how we grapple with them is and should be well open for debate. Counselors have been called to an Ogden school and are making themselves available from the state and the county health department and others, and staff as well, after a fatal shooting. A student who was described as a hardworking student by teachers and staff was killed after a shooting last night, and later identified when a GoFundMe campaign that was posted as a young man named Mason Caballero. And the teen died Tuesday after showing up to a Ben Lomond High wounded, showed up to school with a gunshot wound asking for help. The 16-year-old, they believe, was shot around 3 in the afternoon on the street about a mile northwest of campus. And no one, as of yet, has been taken into custody in connection with the case, either a direct suspect or even someone with information. The GoFundMe campaign that was posted today identified Mason, the victim here, as a hardworking, funny young man with a big heart. Teachers from the Ogden School District echoed that sentiment, saying he was a great student, well-liked by classmates, and a student who had worked really hard to get his grades up since his freshman year. And in response, the high school dismissed students around 3 in the afternoon, and that was about 10 minutes before, or excuse me, not in response. The high school had dismissed students at around 2:30 in the afternoon, and that was roughly 10, 15 minutes, they believe, before this fatal shooting. And that is, according to the news release Ogden School District put out this afternoon. After he was wounded, Mason was taken to the hospital where staff and school resources officers tried to render life-saving aid. And no one knew for sure how the teen arrived on campus or who brought him there. And Superintendent Luke Rasmussen and the high school principal, Veldon Wardle, sent a joint message to students letting them know that their classmate had passed away, had died. In the statement, the Ben Lomond High School administration said, "We're deeply saddened to share an update following today's tragic events in our own community. We have since received confirmation that the victim, a Ben Lomond High student, has passed away as a result of their injuries." Nearby schools stayed on lockdown. It's a protocol that kicks in automatically according to state rules. And students were forced to remain inside even after school would have normally ended. And then eventually, as details emerged, that lockdown was lifted. Students were dismissed under Ogden City Police supervision. And very few details about this. Police have released some details about the shooting and did confirm it was not connected to a bomb threat that the same school received earlier this week. And that was connected to another juvenile, not even in Utah. So the police say they see no connection between last week, not earlier this week, last week's bomb threat. They believe that was just some kid screwing around, basically, from another state. And so they don't believe there's a connection to that, but obviously it did cause panic. And counselors, again, have been at the school all day today offering help to students and staff, people who knew this young man. And again, very few details. I bring this up not to depress everybody, but occasionally you have to kind of step back and especially if you're listening to this show and you, like me, are a political junkie, where a lot of times these headlines play out in the form of a debate over access to mental health care or gun control measures that we haven't tried really in this country, or whether or not this is a cultural issue where we need to talk about our own attitudes towards violence and solving problems with violence and things like that. Put all those debates aside for a second and just this is what happened to me as I read this story. You've got to pause for a second and think about the culture that our generation's young people are growing up in. This is just one incident. It's a tragic incident. A family and a school and a community forever changed by this. And regardless of the details of how, this was a 16-year-old boy. And it's striking to me to think, I think about what it was like when I was 16 in high school, what my biggest concerns and worries were, compared to a lot of the things that I think kids today think about and are exposed to on a somewhat regular basis. Violence like this, single incident involving one person, but also, regular school shooter drills. I can tell you when I was 16 in high school, I would have had no idea what the best protocol was for escaping the school if someone came in with an assault rifle aiming to kill students. I wouldn't have known. And I kind of wish we could go back to a world where 16-year-olds didn't know that. 16-year-olds today, they know. They've known it since elementary school, how to escape a school if someone comes in looking for violence to commit against students and teachers. I'm not saying I know what the best solutions are. I don't think anyone really does because we've tried nothing. But I do know that when I read stories like this, I think about that. What growing up in America is like for the average 16-year-old today. If you want to read more, I've posted links to a coverage of the event. And again, few details are known, it seems, to be released by police about this incident. But a 16-year-old Ben Lomond High School student is dead, released from school along with all the other students a bit early yesterday. 10 minutes later, came back to the school with a bullet wound and passed away. We'll be back right after this.
Join us Saturday, October 11th at Heritage Park in Nibley for USA Project Valor's Run, Walk, and Ride, raising money to support Utah's aging, homeless, and USU student veterans. The 5K starts at 8, the 10K bike ride at 9:15. Sign up now at batizzo.org or sign up at the event. Bring the whole family for games, food trucks, live music, a car show, and prize giveaways. Be part of a community that gives back to those who served. Register today at batizzo.org. That's BADIZO.org.
The annual Cash Business Women's Conference is Wednesday, October 29th at the Riverwoods Conference Center. This year's theme is The Classic Influence, Women in Leadership, with keynote speakers including Marian Bishop, an ER doctor at both Cache Valley Hospital and Brigham City Community Hospital, along with Brooke Walker, a member of the KSL News team. Designed to empower women at every stage of their professional journey. Don't miss the Cash Business Women's Conference, Wednesday, October 29th. Visit cashchamber.com to register. That's cashchamber.com.
The Cache Valley Media Group Logan Holiday Gift Show is Friday and Saturday, November 14th and 15th at the Riverwoods Conference Center. It is the perfect place to show your holiday foods, gifts, decor, clothing, books, jewelry, purses, baby items. The list is endless for business and holiday fun. Search Logan Holiday Gift Show for details or call 752-1390 for more information. Friday and Saturday, November 14th and 15th at the Riverwoods Conference Center. Reserve your booth space today. Logan's premier holiday gift show.
Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas!
Hi, it's Olivia Munn with my shelter pets, Frankie and Chance, reminding you that when you adopt a shelter pet, you discover all the things that make them unique. Adopt Pure Love at theshelterpetproject.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council, the Humane Society of the United States, and Maddie's Fund.
Dad, I picked up your pills, made your lunch, and your laundry is done.
When you care for a loved one, you take care of everything. But are you taking care of yourself? Find free care guides at aarp.org/caregiving. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
A great comment from a listener here after my remarks on the student shot and killed at Ben Lomond High School, or a student from Ben Lomond High School, released from school, came back 10 minutes later with a bullet wound and passed away. The entire community just, reeling from this, understandably. This is a well-known student, well-liked, hardworking student, and no one knows what happened or why. I said, I don't know what the solutions are, but you can't at least not acknowledge that 16-year-olds grow up in a very different world today than we grew up in. A listener said, I tend not to pay attention to these headlines because what can I do? And I get that. And there's nothing really productive about getting yourself depressed about the state of the world, reading the news. But I refuse to accept that we can do nothing. I refuse to accept that regular school shootings are just life in America now. I refuse to accept that our politicians, both left and right, can do nothing but serve up these zombie ideas and solutions over and over. Republicans and Democrats alike staked out ground on the issue of guns in America, violence in America, decades ago, and neither party has shifted or come up with anything new since. And granted, a lot of the ideas from both sides we've never tried. So people that say, nothing will work, we don't know that. Some of it might, who knows? I'm talking specifically about the fact that we don't ever try. I don't know what the solution is, but we don't try. And that is the same as acceptance or even endorsement of this world. Now, granted, in this situation, we don't know details. This could have been something to do with, a group of kids who got in an argument about something, as 16-year-olds do, and someone decided to do something really stupid in response to the argument. Maybe this was gang-related. They've had problems with that in the Ogden area before. Maybe this was a total, maybe this 16-year-old kid who's now dead wasn't an intended target, but was shot just for being there. It could be any of these things. I'm purely speculating here, but again, this is, you have to acknowledge that this is something kids deal with a lot more often these days than we did, than our generation did as high school students. Sure, there were still tragedies. One of my good friends in high school died in an ATV accident in my sophomore year. It was devastating to all of us in that group, friend of groups. Another high school friend tragically took his own life after being broken up with in our junior year of high school. And kids are tougher than we think. I know we all were. We dealt with it. But the frequency these days in which you have tragic stories involving young people in school, at school, where it's happening sometimes, a lot of times, it is noticeably higher frequency. And so I get it. What can you do is I think a pretty rational response outside of, an email or calling and leaving a stern voicemail for your state and federal lawmakers. What else can you do? We don't make the policy. And maybe the policy isn't the solution. Maybe there is no policy that's the solution. I don't know. Again, only stating a fact when I say we haven't tried anything. I don't know what would work, but until we try, who's going to know? Culturally, too, I think we do need to talk about it. Violence is always going to be a part of the human experience in some way. Tragically, it's just always has been, at least. But we do seem to have a culture these days in which some story about someone losing their life to violence is in the news every week in Utah. It's not just a national story. It's not a story coming out of, areas that have been known for high crime in the past, parts of Chicago or Oakland, California. This is Ogden, Utah, Utah Valley, southern Utah. There was a story just a few weeks ago just outside of St. George involving a 17-year-old. So I refuse to accept that we can't do anything. I don't know what we should do, but I refuse to accept that we can't do anything. It has to at least be something we try when we're talking about 16-year-old kids regularly exposed to this kind of stuff inside and outside of school. So what? Not going to try to claim. I know I have my gut instinct what might be the solutions. I think we do to some extent. My eyebrows go up higher than you could think possible whenever someone blames it on video games or movies, because if that was the case, we would have seen the trends we're seeing these days back in the 70s and 80s. Trust me, the violence coming out of Hollywood in the 80s, maybe not video games, it was still Atari then, right? But some of them were kind of violent, I guess, but not like today's, first-person shooter games. The evidence, I don't think, supports the idea that media, I'm talking entertainment media, movies, things like that, music, video games, really have much of an influence on this type of thing. But I do know that oftentimes it's hard to really spot a pattern, definitely in our own lifetimes. But if you're a fan of history and you know anything about the 60s leading up to that, that probably one of the most tumultuous years our country has seen since probably the lead up to and the years after the Civil War, 1968 was quite a year, and it was preceded by a year of frequent headlines involving violence, social upheaval, political upheaval, and maybe these things kind of cycle. I don't know. There is a bit of a pattern you can see that would suggest that, not on a regular, not every 60 years, but they do have a tendency to pick up speed until the wave breaks for whatever reason. And maybe that's it. And at that point, you can't do a lot policy-wise about that, right? But we could be kinder and better to each other. Maybe that would have a big effect. I don't know. Maybe I'm oversimplifying, but to you, Jeanette, I get it. You're probably far from alone, and I feel this way myself sometimes. What's the point in focusing on some of these tragic stories outside of reading the news story? Because what can each individual do? Well, I think if we all refuse to accept it, that's a good start on doing something. We'll be back with more of KVNU's For the People right after this.
Well, thank you, Jason. The WIC program in Utah, which provides federal food assistance to women, infants, and children, has only about 2 weeks left of funds remaining due to the ongoing government shutdown. Now, Utah WIC officials are expressing concern that many families could be left out without access to essential nutrition if Congress fails to restore funding. Now, vendor manager Jodelle Gilman Park said that the program is currently operating as usual, and she's urging participants to continue using their benefits. She explained how WIC provides a huge boost in nutrition for women, infants, and children throughout the state. Now, one Utah mother said that the $60 a month in benefits helps her family afford staples like milk, eggs, and cereal. Now, the Utah Department of Health and Human Services is evaluating contingency options right now, but the governor's office has not indicated as to whether or not the state will cover the cost to prevent an interruption of services. Meanwhile, a pilot and a passenger walked away uninjured after their small plane made an emergency landing on Vineyard Beach near Utah Lake last night following engine trouble. Now, the aircraft had just departed the South Valley Regional Airport in West Jordan and was flying at around 7,000 feet when it experienced engine failure, according to Sergeant Ray Ormond with the Utah County Sheriff's Office. Now, the pilot attempted to reach the Provo Airport but was forced to land about 10 miles away. Ormond confirmed that neither the pilot nor the passenger were hurt, and there were no injuries on the ground. However, the plane did sustain some damage during the landing, and now the Federal Aviation Administration is being called in to investigate what caused the plane to have those engine problems. And a canine officer with the Emory County Sheriff's Office reportedly helped seize 41-pound packages of methamphetamine during a drug bust that happened over the weekend. Sheriff Tyson Huntington confirmed yesterday that one individual was arrested in connection with the seizure. Now, Huntington praised Deputy Smith and canine partner Dak for the successful operation, quipping that while some residents were hunting in the mountains, the deputy and Dak were doing a little hunting of their own. Now, the sheriff noted that the investigation is ongoing. Canine Officer Dak has been involved in several other major busts in Emory County over the last several years. And a strange story out of Murray, where a man is now facing felony charges after police allegedly found him living in a dugout cave underneath Interstate 15. Troy Jones, a 45-year-old, was charged with multiple felonies. Now, Utah Transit Authority employees first reported finding the cave near an I-15 support pillar at an overpass near 400 West Winchester Street back in September. Now, when Murray police responded, Jones reportedly emerged from the cave, telling officers that he had been the one to decide to dig the hole. Court documents state that the tunnel was about 6 feet tall, 9 feet deep. It took about $2,000 to repair the cave and fill it back in. Now, prosecutors have requested that Jones be held without bail pending a pretrial hearing. Well, we're going to continue to enjoy clear skies through the rest of the afternoon as temperatures have been in the low 70s today. Tonight we'll drop into the high 30s, then be back into the high 70s for tomorrow. Mostly sunny through Thursday, but as we head into Thursday night, we're going to start to see a possibility of some showers, thunderstorms. That will continue on and off Friday, increasing Saturday, and finally tapering off by Sunday. And weather this hour is brought to you by Firehouse Subs, that brings you our above and beyond salute each week. And of course, this past week, we recognize Brad Franke, a former lieutenant with the Logan City Police Department who recently retired after serving for more than 34 years. We, of course, gave him a gift card to Firehouse Subs. They're a great place for lunch or dinner right in front of Owl Sporting Goods on Main Street. And I'm Will Feelright with your KVNU News headlines. More of KVNU's For the People show coming up next with Jason Williams.
ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. Another vote to end the shutdown failing in the Senate, with frustrations growing between Republicans and Democrats deadlocked on health care benefits. Here's ABC's Selena Wang.
Democrats say that they are trying to protect Americans' health care. They refuse to budge on this until Republicans agree to extend those expiring Obamacare subsidies so that health care premiums don't rise for millions of Americans. On the other hand, Republicans say we're not going to talk while the government is shut down.
A bipartisan group of senators expected to force a vote tonight on their resolution aimed at limiting the Trump administration's strikes against boats allegedly transporting drugs from Venezuela. After reports of progress being made on talks between Israel and Hamas to end the war in Gaza, President Trump says he's considering traveling to Egypt as early as this weekend if a deal is reached. The White House says Friday President Trump is expected to receive his annual physical at Walter Reed Medical Facility. This is ABC News.
Today's hearing aid technology can improve not only your life, but the lives of the people who care about you. Once again, you'll be able to hear the reason for their laughter and understand conversations. Dr. Paul Danes at Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology will customize a hearing improvement program to meet your unique requirements, whatever they are. Call Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology for an appointment and let them show you how.
Bring back what you've been missing. Bring back Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology.
Bringing Wall Street to Main Street. From your local experts in downtown Logan, this is the Adams Wealth Advisors Market Report.
This is Doug Peterson with Adams Wealth Advisors. Stocks rebounded sharply on Wednesday after Tuesday's dip, as investors continued to bet on the AI growth story. The Dow Jones Industrial Average was unchanged, slipping just 1 point to 46,602 points, while the tech-heavy NASDAQ jumped 1.19% to 25,137 points, and the S&P 500 rose 0.58% to 6,754 points. Technology led the rally with a 1.75% gain, while defensive non-AI sectors lagged. In bonds, the 5-year Treasury rose slightly to 3.72%, and the 10-year held at 4.13%. Minutes from the Fed's September meeting showed officials were still open to more rate cuts this year, but divided on the pace. while the median outlook called for 2 additional quarter-point cuts by the end of 2025. 7 of 19 members projected none, citing inflation risks. Others pointed to potential labor market weakness, reinforcing that future decisions will remain data-driven and made meeting by meeting. We'll continue watching market reactions in the days ahead.
That's your update from Adams Wealth Advisors, guiding your financial future one day at a time. For personalized help planning yours, reach out to us at 435-752-1702. See you soon, Cache Valley. Advisory services offered through Adams Wealth Management, a registered investment advisor. For important disclosures and more information, visit adamswealthadvisors.com.
Insuring your business can be frustrating. If you are confused about coverages, your rates are increasing, or you can't get a hold of your agent, it's time for a change. This is Matt Robbins with Quality First Insurance. We do return your calls because we work for you. We believe that protecting your business should be affordable and hassle-free. As an independent agency, we have access to multiple carriers like Auto Owners Insurance and will give you options. Call us today, 435-752-0101.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. Again, coming up in hour 2, Logan School Superintendent Frank Schofield and Logan High and Logan Middle School social studies teachers will be with us. We're going to be talking about civic ed. Lawmakers have expanded this program into a year-long program, at least optional, at schools throughout the state with some additional funding. And it is, in most schools, a regular part, in some way, of curriculum. But what is it exactly? Well, we'll be talking about that. Right now, though, October is National Fire Prevention Month. And it is an opportunity to talk about, some things I think most of us know, even if we don't always practice them. Testing smoke detectors and carbon monoxide alarms, replacing the batteries annually, always a good idea, even if it isn't chirping. If it's chirping, you replace it, right? But once a year is probably a good practice, even if it isn't chirping. Having a fire escape plan from your home, mapping out 2 routes out of the home, especially if you have young people in the home, and also include the pets, how you're going to get the pets out in the advent of a fire, and some other good tips, practicing that escape plan at least once or twice a year, hold family fire drills and things like that. It might seem silly as you're doing it. It's really going to help when the emergency does happen, if it does, God forbid. Also, tips about, as you're leaving the home, put your hand on the door, a closed door first, to see if it's safe to open. If it's warm, do not open it. Standard kitchen safety. Stay in the kitchen when you're cooking. Best thing to do to prevent a fire. Make sure flammable items, dish towels, even wooden spoons, as they get old and more dry, they actually become very flammable. Keep those away from the actual stovetop heat source. Use timers so that you don't forget that you've got a burner on, and learn what to do in the event of a grease fire as opposed to other types of fire. We all know that, right? Grease fire, you don't throw water on it. That actually scatters the fire around your kitchen. Use an extinguisher, and also keep those extinguishers handy. 1 in every room is the recommendation, but at least 1 or 2 throughout the house, 1 on each floor of the house for sure, but more is better. And also check the expiration dates on those. Make sure everybody knows how to use them and more. Candles, just avoid them if you can. And matches and lighters, of course. Make sure they're up high enough the little kids can't get them. And again, know the PASS method for a fire extinguisher. That is pull, aim, squeeze, sweep. Pull the pin, aim at the base of the fire, squeeze the handle, and sweep side to side. PASS, P-A-S-S. But there are more safety tips and some things people don't think about. It's one that I've actually, in my day job, had come up before, and that is those aftermarket charging cables you get. Say the dog, this happened to me, the dog gnaws through the charging cable for a new puppy. Cutest little dog, but man, Went through 3 of the charging cables for a laptop. And so you buy the new one, and sometimes, you buy the cheaper one on Amazon or something like that instead of going to the manufacturer or a reputable brand at a local retail store like Best Buy. We've all done that, right? We do it for our cell phones. We do it for our electronic devices in general. And it can actually be a risk because if they're manufactured poorly, they can heat up enough to start fire. Also, an old battery, lithium-ion battery that is failing can actually get warm enough to start fire if something's left plugged in and ends up overcharging. We forget that, right? Well, that's part of the message put out by the National Fire Prevention Association for National Fire Prevention Week. You can find out more and read more on a wide range of fire prevention tips. Easy stuff to do that can really, really help in the event of a fire or to prevent a fire, more importantly, at fpw.org, firepreventionweek.org. But it is, of course, Fire Prevention Month, and the focus this month is exactly what I mentioned, those lithium-ion batteries. Here's a little video that the National Fire Prevention Association put out today on those lithium-ion batteries and chargers all over all of our homes now.
Most of the electronics and power tools we use in our homes every day are powered by lithium-ion batteries. In fact, most everything that is rechargeable uses this type of battery. Look around your home. How many items can you count that use lithium-ion batteries? If you're not sure, find out. If not used correctly or if damaged, lithium-ion batteries can overheat, start a fire, or even explode. These fires have become one of the most challenging incidents for the fire service, and with the continued growth in the use and sale of battery-powered devices, we all need to understand the importance of using these batteries correctly.
This year's Fire Prevention Week campaign helps us to understand and follow the buy, charge, and recycle safely approach. We should only buy safety-listed products, charge our devices safely, and recycle all lithium-ion batteries responsibly.
When buying a product that uses a lithium-ion battery, please take time to research it. Look for a safety certification mark from a nationally recognized testing lab such as UL, ETL, or CSA. This means that it meets important safety standards. Many of the products sold online and in our stores may not meet safety standards and could increase your risk of fire. When charging your devices, follow the instructions from the manufacturer and always use the cords that come with the product. If you need a new charger, buy one from the manufacturer or one that the manufacturer has approved. Always charge your device on a hard surface, never under a pillow, a bed, a couch, or easily combustible soft materials. Do not overcharge your device. Unplug it or remove the battery when it's fully charged. All charging devices should be plugged directly into an outlet, not power strips, extension cords, or multi-plug adapters. It is also important not to overload your outlets. Please talk to your kids about safe charging practices. We can recycle these batteries and their products responsibly by keeping them out of our trash and regular recycling bins. Recycling the battery at a safe battery recycling location is the best way to dispose of them. You can visit calltorecycle.org to find a recycling spot near you.
When you buy and charge safely, fire risk is reduced. However, fires can still happen, and we must all be prepared. If there is a fire, your ability to get out of your home is highly dependent on early warning from your smoke alarms and advanced planning.
Install smoke alarms in every bedroom, outside each sleeping area, and on every level of the home. Make sure your smoke alarms are working by pushing the test button every month and by changing batteries yearly. Know your expiration dates and replace all alarms every 10 years. Make an escape plan that has multiple ways out and a safe outside meeting place. Your plan must consider the abilities of everyone in the home, particularly children, family members with special abilities, or people with mobility challenges.
Again, just a little bit of the video put out today by the National Fire Prevention Association. They also recommend you, as I mentioned, practice those escape plans. The entire 15-minute video can be seen by visiting National Fire Prevention Association's website or visit firepreventionweek.org, and you'll find more. October, again, is Fire Prevention Month. A quick note for those in Cache Valley who heard that mention about recycling lithium-ion batteries responsibly. They're extremely hazardous for the environment, thrown into the trash or the regular recycling. If you are interested in recycling those lithium-ion batteries, if you have one that's old or gets warm while you're charging it, if you feel it getting pretty hot, might be time to swap that out in a device that allows for that, and many do. The Logan landfill actually accepts lithium-ion batteries. You do have to enter the landfill and go to the hazardous waste facility there on the right, where they take oil and batteries and all kinds of things. And Utah State University, they actually offer battery recycling drop-off points at the recycling center there on campus, Aggie Village, and just inside the doors at the Merrill Library. There are recycling drop-off areas. And also many stores here in Utah, Best Buy, Home Depot, partner with battery recycling groups and have drop-off locations. So there you have it. Again, we don't think about that, and I've seen it myself in my day job, that aftermarket charger that you bought, laptop gets plugged in, tablet gets plugged in, doesn't get used every day, so it just sits there on the charger all the time on top of a stack of flammable books, gets hot enough, starts smoking, sometimes sets off the smoke detector in time for you to notice. A couple of incidents that I've been told about, and one that I actually witnessed the aftermath of. You don't hear it in time, and there's quite a fire in the corner of the home there where that tablet was plugged in. It does happen. It's rare, but it does happen. So probably the best tip there in all of that we might forget is once it's done charging, unplug it and unplug the charger. And easy enough, right, to prevent a fire. So more information, again, through the National Fire Prevention Association website, nfpa.org, or visit firepreventionweek.org for more videos like the one you heard a bit of there. So celebrate by not having a fire. It's National Fire Prevention Month throughout October. We'll talk about this more next week with some more tips from the National Fire Prevention Association. And we'll be back with more of KVN News for the People right after this.
News Talk 610 AM, 102.1 FM, KVNU.
Are you ready to upgrade to your dream kitchen? This is Jay at Daryl's. We have some sweet specials going on with KitchenAid, Cafe, and more. Save up to $3,000 extra in mail-in rebates from KitchenAid or Cafe, and up to $950 back from Daryl's. Design your dream kitchen at Daryl's today with your favorite brands. Daryl's, West on Airport Road, open until 6 p.m. on weekdays, 5 on Saturday.
Hi, it's Congressman Blake Moore. Have you heard the news? My office recently won an award for our Outstanding Constituent Service Program. That's right, the Congressional Management Foundation named Team Moore winners of their Best of Constituent Service Award, meaning Utahns in the 1st District are receiving some of the best help Congress has to offer. Representing Utah priorities in Congress and providing top-notch constituent service is at the heart of everything Team Moore does. We've had great success helping Utahns with expedited passports, visa processing, veterans benefits, immigration petitions, retirement issues, tax returns, and much, much more. We'd love for you to experience our award-winning service yourself. If you need help navigating a federal agency, including the IRS, Social Security, the VA, Immigration Services, or Medicare, please give my office a call at 801-625-0107. That's 801-625-0107. We're also happy to help coordinate U.S. Capitol tours, take your comments, and provide legislative updates anytime. It's our honor to serve you and your family. Thank you. Paid for by official funds authorized by the House of Representatives.
Over 50, you can still register as an organ and tissue donor.
Call 1-866-99-DONATE. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Health Resources and Services Administration.
Wrapping up hour one of today's show, we'll talk civic education with teachers and administrators from the Logan School District coming up in hour two for our monthly spotlight on Logan schools. I want to point everyone to this, though. Utah Manufacturers Association, which an organization that can be found at manufacturingutah.com, is asking Utahns to vote for the coolest things made in Utah. They had thousands of submissions from the business community, and the first round of voting narrowed them down to 16. This was voting by members of the Utah Manufacturers Association. Now they're opening it up to the public, and you can vote at manufacturingutah.com. The list of 16 is pretty impressive, honestly. And a lot of things that you don't know are made here in Utah. The Little Giant ladder systems, Made in America ladders, New Course insulated panel, which is used in a lot of industrial situations. Huggies diapers, made by Kimberly Clark. I won't even try to explain that one. Never mind. It's iodine. If you want to know more about that, yeah. But it's actually made here in Utah. There are a couple of different companies who do pre-engineered metal buildings. There is an AI camera manufacturing company in Utah. There is high-accuracy wing defastening robots for the F-16 fighter jet, made by SAE Incorporated here in Utah. A pretty popular, apparently, in home construction, pyrite chandelier. I had no idea. And, of course, here in northern Utah, we know bowling balls are made just over the hill from Cache Valley there in Brigham City. I don't know. That's on the list. But, yeah, they're asking Utahns to go vote for the number one coolest thing made in Utah. They've narrowed it down to a list of 16, and you have until the end of this week to cast a vote. Free to do at manufacturingutah.com. And also you'll learn a few things about things that are made in Utah. I know I did. I had no idea that the Zyodine iodine was made here. And Google that. It's kind of cool. List again at manufacturingutah.com, where you can cast a vote. And stick around. Hour 2 of today's show and a spotlight on Logan Schools coming up right after this here on KVNU Logan.